Alright, so welcome to today's video. Today I'm going to be talking about the truth about why you can't get private pay clients and how to actually fix this. So most therapists assume that they can't get private pay clients because their area is saturated or because people just can't afford it. But here's a stat that I want you to pay attention to. 33% of private practice therapists don't accept insurance at all, which means that they're relying completely on self-pay clients and they're still running successful therapy practices. So what is really the problem here? So what I'm about to show you is we're going to get into the myth that keeps most therapists stuck working harder for less, the real reason private pay clients aren't showing up for you, and a simple way to shift how you're marketing so that you can attract clients who value your work and will pay your full rate. Okay, so first let's start off talking about the myth here. So the myth here that keeps most therapists stuck is this belief that people won't just pay out of pocket for therapy. And this might be the most common and the most misleading narrative in the mental health field. And honestly, I get it. So 10 years ago, it was true that back then most clients did depend on insurance, and that was the norm. It was pretty much the only way that people even thought about seeing a therapist. But if we take a good look at the market now, we would see people are paying privately for coaching, nutrition, fitness, aesthetics, and even sleep consulting is huge now. Okay. So if we look at how nutritionists are marketing now, we can see that they're not just saying, oh, I help people eat better. This is sort of the old way of doing marketing messaging. And they're saying, I help busy professionals get their energy back without giving up carbs. It's a lot more specific, and it gets the message across to a higher caliber audience. So they don't just say, I help people eat better. They say, I help busy professionals get their energy back without giving up carbs. So it's the same work, but with different messaging. So one feels very generic, like a very generic service, and the other feels like a real solution, something that you may have been searching for a long time, right? And this is where the gap really is. So the problem isn't that people won't pay privately, it's that the way therapy is usually communicated doesn't really show why it's worth paying for. And that's not your fault. You were trained to explain therapy like a process, not to communicate the transformation that it creates or the transformation that it can potentially create. So let's talk about the truth now. So the truth is that most therapists are marketing like therapists rather than marketing like problem solvers, okay? So they talk about credentials, therapy, what you offer, instead of the transformation that your potential clients actually want. And now this isn't because you don't care about outcomes, it's because you were trained to speak in clinical language, not in client language. So here's what this would look like in real life. If a website says individual therapy for anxiety and depression, it disappears in a sea of websites that say the exact same thing. It could potentially belong to anyone, okay? But if it says you spend all day helping everyone else, then lie awake at night wondering why you still feel empty, now that lands with exactly the right person, and they're 5 to 6 times more likely to actually take action on that as a cash pay only offer than if you had said, I help with anxiety and depression. So here we can notice that the second one, the more specific version, sounds like something that a real person would type into Google at 2 a.m. when they're desperate for help. And that is the shift that I want you to start thinking inside of. So going from describing what therapy is to showing what therapy actually changes. So I've seen this simple change in messaging be the difference between a $90 insurance session and a $200 private pay session, time and time again. So when you're speaking to the right audience and you have clarity of value, attracting private pay clients stops becoming a distant goal and it actually becomes the norm for your practice. Because the goal here is to have clients truly understand what they're getting, and not in abstract terms, but in real life outcomes and experiences, so that they stop comparing therapists by price and rather look at you for the actual value that you provide. And the more clear you can be in your communication when it comes to marketing, the better off you'll be. So that they'll start choosing based off of resonance and connection, which actually increases the value that you bring into their lives. So the real issue here, we can see it's not that people won't pay, it's that they don't yet understand what they're paying for. And so that's our job, to actually break that down and make it easy and digestible to understand. That way they understand completely. So what I want to show you now is the framework for how to actually make that shift, which is going from describing therapy to showing its actual value. So I have a diagram here of the framework, which I'll review now. Okay, so I have the diagram here of the value shift. So it really comes down to 3 simple changes that I call the value shift framework. And number 1 is going from process to problem. So most therapists, they lead with how they help, whether it's like EMDR, CBT, trauma-informed care, but I want you to understand that clients do not buy processes, they buy solutions to problems. So instead of saying I offer trauma-informed therapy, you could say I help people stop reliving the same painful memories so they can finally move forward. Now that one change, essentially you're offering the same thing and you're helping with the same thing, but now you're going from how to why. And it creates instant relevance for anyone that's actually experiencing that in real time. The second part of the framework is going from clinical to conversational. So here, your degree has already earned you your credibility, but you're not the only person with a degree out there. Everyone in the mental health field that is practicing has a degree. Okay, so your language here is what earns you that extra piece of connection that's missing for a lot of mental health practices. So private pay clients here aren't searching for effective dysregulation. They're never going to Google or ChatGPT and typing in effective dysregulation. They're actually searching for problems. So maybe they're searching, why do I keep snapping at my kids for no reason? So in your messaging, you want to talk the way that your clients think, not the way that your professors taught you. And that is what makes the biggest difference, and that's what makes your message actually human and actually resonate with people. The third part of the framework here is going from general to specific. So general therapy language, it feels safe, but it's invisible. It blends into the sea of marketing messages in the therapy industry. So it doesn't actually mean anything, it just sounds very nice. We don't want it to sound nice, we want it to be actually effective. So specific language feels more personal and it'll build trust fast. So instead of saying, I help people manage stress, you can try something like this. I help women who hold it together at work but fall apart when they get home. So when clients see themselves in your words, when you're messaging this way, they start believing that change is possible, and that gives them that little ounce of hope that they need to take that initial step. And now they're willing to invest in it as well. So that is the value shift framework. It's focusing on problem, not process, staying conversational, not clinical, and getting specific, not being too general. So this framework changes everything. I know it seems simple, but a lot of people are not applying this right now. And when you start speaking this way, private pay clients, they won't need any convincing. It's just a matter of self-selection. So it's, if I resonate with this message, then I'm going to self-select and I'm going to say, this is exactly what I've been looking for. That is how you want to approach your marketing message. You don't want to approach it from this like salesy, markety sort of vibe that makes everyone just uncomfortable, because we're in the mental health industry. That's not the approach that we want to take. Okay, so that is a real shift. It's not that people can't afford therapy. It's that most people have never been shown why it's actually worth paying for. So that's the change that you want to make, is you want to communicate that value very, very clearly. You want to focus on outcomes and you want to speak your client's language and show that real transformation. That way that private pay clientele can come in very naturally. Okay, so if this helped you see things differently, like this video and leave a comment down below. Tell me what you're struggling with most when it comes to building your private pay practice and what other sorts of content you might find helpful.